Tough start here for Eala as Muchova playing some clean tennis. Beautiful forehand. First set, I'm sure she'd like to forget.
What if a single loss could be the most important moment of an entire career? Not a championship win. Not a record-breaking run. A loss. That's exactly what happened at the Miami Open 2026, when Alexandra Eala stepped onto the court against one of the most tactically gifted players on the tour, Karolina Muchová. Muchova won. But if you think this video is about defeat, you're watching the wrong story. Because what unfolded in that match, the pressure, the struggle, the fight, might actually matter more to Alex's future than any victory she's collected so far. And that is not an exaggeration.
Yeah, it felt pretty good. I mean, you get nervous here and there when it's going, I don't want to say easy, but when the score is in your favor, it's like you have to be cautious, so a little bit nervous, but obviously I'm super happy to be here in quarters. It's incredible.
You got your first WTA 1000 title earlier this season, obviously playing some of the best tennis of your career. Is that because we're healthy, we're all in one piece, or is there something that you're working on the practice court that you're seeing pay off?
I'd say it's kind of everything, like good preparation, good team around me, good people, playing, keeping healthy, as you mentioned, good practices. It's kind of little pieces of everything, and then when it clicks, I'm happy it clicked and that I'm here playing some good tennis.
Coming into Miami, Alex wasn't flying under the radar anymore. Those days were gone. After a string of performances that had the tennis world genuinely paying attention, she had crossed a line that very few young players ever cross. She wasn't a prospect. She was a threat. People were saying her name in the same breath as future champions, and that kind of talk changes everything. Because when the expectations get loud, the game gets heavier. Opponents don't overlook you anymore. They prepare for you. And on the other side of the net stood exactly the kind of player who does her homework. Karolina Muchová, Grand Slam finalist. One of the smartest competitors in the women's game. A player who doesn't just show up and hit balls. She shows up with a plan. And from the very first game, that plan was obvious. She slowed everything down. She mixed the spins. She used her slices like weapons. She dragged Alex wide, pulled her forward, pushed her back, and every time Alex tried to find her rhythm, Muchova shifted the pattern again. It wasn't just physical chess. It was mental chess. And early on, Alex couldn't solve it. Her timing was slightly off. Her shots weren't landing with the same freedom we'd seen before. And that's where experience becomes its own form of power. Muchova saw the hesitation and she pressed it. She kept extending rallies, forcing one more shot and then another until the pressure started stacking up. Because that's the thing about playing someone like Muchova. She doesn't just beat you with her racket. She beats you by making you uncomfortable and then staying completely calm while you try to figure out the answer. But here's what made this match genuinely fascinating. Even while struggling, Alex kept going for it. The same aggressive instincts. The same fearless shot-making that got her here in the first place. She had moments. Real moments. But every single time she started to build momentum, Muchova answered it. That's not luck. That's top-level experience. Knowing exactly when to shift gears, when to take the point by force, and when to simply close the door. And every time Alex knocked, Muchova made sure that door stayed shut.
And that will do it. Nice respect there.
Now here's the question that actually matters. What does a loss like this do to a player like Alex? Because for some, a defeat at this stage, after this much hype, after this much expectation, can shake something loose. It can make you doubt. It can make you hesitate. But for others, it does something completely different. It clarifies everything. And if you've been watching Alexandra Eala, you already know which category she belongs to. Because this loss doesn't erase what she's built. It reveals what she still needs to build. Every player you consider elite today has had a match exactly like this. A match where they got outplayed, outthought, and outexperienced by someone who had simply been in those moments longer. And those matches didn't end careers. They started new chapters. This is Alex's version of that chapter. She now knows what it physically feels like when a player can completely disrupt her game plan. She knows what it takes to stay in those long, grinding, tactical rallies at the highest level. She knows, specifically, where the gaps in her game are. And knowing that is not a weakness. Knowing that is the beginning of the solution. For everyone back in the Philippines watching this moment matters too. Because supporting someone through the wins is easy. But being there through the hard matches, through the learning curve, through the moments that don't go the way you hoped, that's where real support lies. And the impact Alex has already made at home, the young players she's inspired, the attention she's brought to Philippine tennis, none of that disappears because Muchova won a match in Miami. If anything, this makes her story more real, more human, more worth following. There's also a tactical shift coming that is worth thinking about. Before this match, Alex was the dangerous unknown, the young player with nothing to lose and everything to gain. That version of her was already dangerous. But now, players have film. They have a blueprint. They saw what Muchova exposed and they will try to use it. Which means the next phase of Alex's development isn't just about getting better. It's about getting harder to read, harder to prepare for, and harder to break. That gap between a good player and a great player? This is exactly where it gets crossed. So what happens next? Does this loss sit on her shoulders, or does she throw it in the gym and come back sharper? Based on everything Alex has already shown us, based on the resilience she's already proven and the belief that clearly runs deep in her game, the answer seems obvious. Belief doesn't collapse after one loss. It gets tested, and when it holds, it comes back stronger than it was before. The path ahead is still wide open. The potential hasn't moved. The trajectory hasn't changed. She is still one of the most exciting young players in this sport, full stop. But now she's something more. She's a player who has felt what losing at this level costs, and that experience, that edge, that perspective, is part of what actually builds champions. The real growth in sports never happens in the highlight reels. It happens in the moments that don't go your way. The moments where you have to dig, adapt, and decide who you want to be going forward. This could be one of those defining moments for Alexandra Eala. Not because she lost, but because of what she does next. Because Muchova won this match, yes. She proved that experience is still a weapon at the top of this sport. But this story? It is nowhere near finished. For Alex, this is just one chapter. And if we know anything about her, the next one is going to be worth watching.